Hello and welcome to the 10th session of the DIMP Digital podcast. I'm your host Joe Appleyard and I'm once again joined by Joshua Hall and Christopher Loding. Gents, how are we doing?
Yep.
Good, Logan. Hall?
Yeah, good, thanks mate.
Brilliant. Let's crack straight into it. There's a couple of bits of news I wanted to cover off first. The main one, or the first one, being that GTA 5 has been delayed once again on the PC.
Shock.
Yeah, shock. They're at it again. There's a new release date of the 24th of March 2015, so there's going to be a little bit more frustration for that particular audience. I mean, it's expected to launch at the same time as the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. That was pushed back, and then they've had another one. So, but what I found most interesting, more from a selfish point of view, being a PS4 owner of the game, is that they mentioned that it will launch with online heists. So it looks like we're finally going to get the heists by the end of March at the latest. So they're going to fulfil that promise. I mean, we've had a bit of a chat before about delays and whatnot, and I think we are all pretty much in agreement that it's better to delay and polish something rather than rush it out. I don't suppose any of your opinions have changed since the last podcast.
No, I mean, there's no point in just absolutely for the sake of it bringing stuff out, but at the same time, I mean, this is getting a bit fucking ridiculous. Yeah. It's all well and good saying, well, we don't want to release it too early, but Jesus Christ. How long have we been waiting for these fucking heists?
Well, they've been over, it's come up to a year and a half, it'll be, if they get to that sort of time frame, just under 18 months. So
it's just absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, if you bought a 360 version in hope that you're going to play that, back last November, you've been really stung out of that. But yeah, I mean, if it's broken, then fix it. But it comes to a point where they need to just get this out. And the PC owners obviously haven't had a taste. The ones that haven't got a console have not had a taste of Grand Theft Auto 5 at all. So they've not even been able to play it on the old gen or the new gen. They've just been hung out to dry, basically. So I can imagine if you've been waiting for the PC version for up to up to 2 years now, then you're going to start getting a little bit frustrated. Another piece of news, another item that's sort of newsworthy, is that Forza 6 has been announced. So they've said that they're going to release a little bit more information and probably do a trailer and whatnot at E3 this year. But we know it's in the pipeline now. I suppose it's a question for you, Logan. You're in the market for a driving game. You did think that The Crew was going to do the trick, but that's obviously fallen away. It didn't quite meet expectations when we played the beta. You've got your eyes almost set on Project Cars. Does this development change your focus off of Project Cars and maybe move on to Forza 6, or are you quite set that that's going to be the driving game that you're after?
I don't know really. I'm just looking for something. I quite like the idea of The Crew because it wasn't necessarily an out-and-out simulation game. I did play Forza 5 and it was alright, but yeah. I don't know, I liked the idea of the open world side of it as well. So
can I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 2.
Okay.
I would say you look into that. That's an open world driving game. Not like The Crew where it's the whole of America, but it's set in Europe and it's an open world driving game. It's getting very good reviews critically and from users. So Project Cars and Forza tend to be down the sort of track simulation route. So I would, if you're looking for an open world racing game, I'd definitely recommend taking a look at Forza Horizon 2. It's one of their best exclusives from last year. So take a look into that if you get time.
Yeah, will do.
Excellent. We've got one listener question this week, and it comes once again from Jamie Rumble. He's put, why do you think no one has been able to make a good film based on a computer game? So, Hall, I mean, we've watched films, we've all played the games. To my knowledge, there's not been a good one, not a big mainstream film. You did mention Final Fantasy VII, was it, that you thought was quite good?
Well, I mean, I could list off a few. You got Final Fantasy VII, the Super Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo.
No good, though.
That was fucking awesome, mate. That was such a good film. No. You got the Street Fighter film.
That is awful. That is even worse.
With Van Damme. And,
Mortal
Kombat. Mortal Kombat's got to be the worst.
The Mortal Kombat film?
Yeah, but I think the key here is you put good film based on a computer game. These ones being listed, no.
I would argue that 2 out of those 4 at least are, in my opinion, good film. I like the Final Fantasy VII film. I like the Street Fighter film. You just got to take it on the chin for what it is. But I think it's a different market, isn't it? I mean, I don't know whether you agree that I think that quite often going the other way as well. It's not very often you get a computer game that's a good version of a film carryover.
No, it's never normally. There's normally tie-ins, but the very few ones follow the same plot of a film and work.
Exactly. Because if they follow something very similarly, you kind of know what's happening. It's not. I just don't think that they carry over. Maybe that's something to do with it. But no, there's not. There's not been many, really, has there? And I think a large part of it is just because, like I say, you know what's coming, and you know a lot of computer games is just plus, like you say, as we said before, a film is not a huge investment. You've only got like maybe a 2-hour time frame, whereas you know computer games you can sink in sort of 60-70 hours before you've even done a main mission. That's without doing any extra bits and pieces. So you know,
the plot's gonna. I mean, a good single player game's gonna have sort of maybe a 12-hour campaign. You'd say there's about 4 hours of plot there, so you've then got to condense that down into some sort of film. He's saying that books, you know, they are sometimes 1,000 pages long. They seem to get half decent films out of that. But Logan, I heard you about to chime in there. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I just think they're designed for different things. I think a film is obviously just designed for you to watch, so it's got to be visually, it's got to interest you, it's got to be on a topic you're interested in, have a good storyline. A game doesn't necessarily have to have a good storyline for it to be a good game. It just has to be entertaining for you to play. So if you're trying to take a game with a weak storyline, i.e. Mario, which is fucking Bowser taking the princess, then you're not really going to get much out of that. But it's fun to play.
You haven't seen the film.
I don't think. I think it's been switched off after 10 minutes. I mean, for me, if you look at, I think you're right in a way, Logan, that older games, you know, the story, I don't think it really was the focus. It was all about the gameplay because it didn't really have the technology to, you know, give you good cutscenes with voiceovers. That was only something that came in probably 15 years ago, and now it's only really, you know, in these recent times with the technology that developers are able to explore games in a cinematic way, and you're able to focus on how the story plays out. And I think moving forward, you know, with the technology and with more focus being put on the story of a game, because they can portray it correctly and how they want the vision to be, you might see a few more decent films coming out. And you know, you got to also consider the fact that a lot of these films, you know, normal films, are based on novels and books, you know, that have been transferred for the big screen. I just don't think there's quite the writing talent pool within the development studios. I mean, they are typically, a development studio would be mainly creative people that are there to create gameplay mechanics, and I don't know how much time they're developing and putting into actually thinking about a good storyline, because sometimes having a good story might hamper a particular mechanic or the way the game plays out. And I think a lot of gamers or gaming developers try and aim to have sort of more freedom in the way they're creating the game, so that it plays better than it views. If that makes sense.
I think that's a good point, in that you've got to remember, like, take for example, let's say Destiny, which has been one of the most highly acclaimed games of the year. Two of us have had it in our top 3 games of the year, and yet the storyline on it is basically non-existent, which shows you that you know, gamers essentially are looking more for the game. The gameplay mechanics are far more important than having a storyline if the game plays well enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's evident with Titanfall as well. We've all put that on our game. Yes, 3 out of 3, and that has no it has a story.
Essentially no storyline.
Essentially no story. Yeah. Again, it's different entertainment markets. It's different.
I think it is starting to. I mean, if you play Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, that is more like you playing a part in a story than. I think that, especially with having an actual actor that you can recognise in it as well, I think that was I think that was more of a step in that direction. But I think
the other way though, you've got the game, which is essentially already got the storyline all played out. Like, if you had it as a film, how different would it be to the game? Except you haven't got the interactive side of it.
Well, no, but you'd either do a sequel or, I don't know, you wouldn't do the same thing. You wouldn't do Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, the film, because you've already done it.
The Last of Us film, so that could...
One thing I was going to say is, the previous games were hampered. You could, as I say... Well, no, because you've got, say, from Street Fighter or whatever, I mean, even if you try to do any sort of game, you're hampered by what you can do in real life. Whereas on the game, you've got the creative license to do whatever you like. But obviously with CGI moving forward and stuff, you might see more of it, but then you're just effectively recreating it in a virtual world anyway, so then you're slipping back into...
You've just got the game without any interactive feature, exactly.
It's tough, isn't it? Because very few games come through with a really stellar, strong storyline. You don't see them very often. I just don't think that there's the talent pool for the writers to develop the game in that way and actually... give us a good sort of narrative to play through. There's a couple, but I'm not going to mention The Last of Us again. Well, I have, but that's going into a film. That's one of the stronger ones in the last 5-10 years, I'd say. But that's one out of hundreds and hundreds of games that have come out over that time period. But I think that'll do for that. I mean, they are different entertainment markets, and I think going forward, as we see more time being put into the storyline, then we may see this sort of being transferred across. But I think for going back previously, it just wasn't quite there. It wasn't the focus of the developers. PlayStation, or Sony should I say, have announced they're going to be rolling out PlayStation Now. So this is Sony's on-demand streaming service, and essentially allows you to stream games over your broadband rather than having to download them or insert the disc. And it's been out on the market with a low-key sort of beta that's been in the US, and it's going to be rolled out properly in the US on a subscription-based model, which the pricing they've announced is $19.99 a month or $44.99 if you pay for 3 months up front. So it gives you access currently to about 100 PlayStation 3 games, and Sony have said that they'll be introducing PS1 and PS2 games as time goes on. Logan, what do you make of this?
I don't really see the point. I mean, okay, it gives you the access to a massive library. I mean, so what? They're introducing it on the PS4, is that?
Yes.
And they're giving you access to old PS3 and PS1, PS2 games.
Yeah, they've not said whether there's ever going to be, an opportunity to put PS4 games via streaming. But could you see that happening? Maybe that'd be more enticing to see. Rather than you digitally downloading something, you stream it.
Yeah, I can understand the logic in you paying a fee and being able to access all these games as you and when you want. It's almost it makes sense if you played a lot of games rather than to pay 40 quid a pop every time for you to pay a subscription fee and just play what you want when you want. But what was that? It's basically 50 quid for 3 months, was that?
$44.99. So it depends how they translate it over here. I mean, they always stitch us up.
So anyway, that's probably about 38 quid a month.
Yeah,
So let's round it up. So it's about 40 quid a month. Wow. 40 quid for 3 months. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's £160 a year. So that is equivalent of 4 games. You're going to probably, if you're going to buy more than 4 games a year, then I'd say maybe that's worth it. But with my connection, I wouldn't even bother. It's just, unless you've got sort of fibre optic, it's probably not even worthwhile.
That's the standard these days. So maybe
it's just because I'm in the sticks. But I quite like. I don't even like digital downloads really. I prefer the actual buying of the game and having the actual disc for myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. And plus you'll never really be open to all the special offers and getting games. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily at this moment in time something to kick off. Maybe something in the future it might. But
yeah. Paul, have you got any opinion on this? I mean, you don't own a PlayStation yet, although there's rumours going around that you might. I mean, something like PlayStation Now, if you was to get a PS4, would open up the whole, well, not the whole PS3 line, but quite a few good chunk of games on the PlayStation 3. Would you entertain that?
I think it's definitely hitting the right market and going for the older games. I mean, if you compare it to, say, like when Blockbusters used to be about.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's essentially the same kind of thing, isn't it? You'd pay. Well, you'd be a member, and you'd rent your games for however long, and although you had them for a limited time rather than being able to stream them as much as you want. It's kind of a similar principle, isn't it? Of you're not actually owning the game, you've just got it to play when you want it. And for me, like I didn't do it. I'd rather own the game. I'd rather have it physically. Like Logan says, I don't really like the digital downloads too much, to be honest. So in that sense, I think it doesn't appeal that much. But if it's doing it for older games, there's games that might appear.
£160 a year.
Yeah, but this is my point. I think like there's only a couple of games that I probably missed on the PlayStation 3 that I would really want to play through. One of them that Mr. Adcock always bangs on about to me is Shadow of the Colossus. Now, I missed that through its PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 era. But for me, that'll be a 1 month rental, so I'll pay the $20 up front. I'll power through Shadow of the Colossus, then bin it. I don't see the value in having it all year round. I don't get enough time to play the new games as it is, let alone going through the backlog and reliving things. Like it would literally, for me, it'd be for 2-3 games maximum that I, for whatever reason, didn't get around to doing that I really want to play, and then drop it. I can't see many people having this all year round, like Logan says. I'm not sure.
What about old PS1, PS2 games that you just want to play for a bit and reminisce over?
Well, I don't. If you're going to do that, why not just put them up for cheap then on the store? I don't understand why.
Clogging up hard drive space as much as anything else. Then you've got to download them.
It's also the fact that you've got to remember this PlayStation now is streaming, so it's not using the PlayStation 4 to actually process the graphics and the processor. It's being streamed, so you're not actually using the PS4 architecture for this.
Are you going to get the graphics that you want?
This is a question, isn't it? If it runs like it should, you don't want any lag, do you? You don't want any input lag on your control, because that is fucking infuriating at the best of times. Seems like a problem that's been eradicated. There's no way I'd accept playing a game where I press the button and it takes a second. Yeah. And then also, like you said, the graphic, it can't be buffering like it used to on the old school YouTube videos. You click it and it'll square up. That can't be accepted. So yeah, if things are spot on, it can work. But I think if there's problems like that, which I can't see how there's not going to be, because you're streaming an entire game over the internet. It must be
caching a certain amount of it, so it must temporarily store. It must use memory. I can't see how you can actually stream. I mean, even if you play a game online, like Miniclip or anything like that, it has to load the game up. It doesn't just stream it. So I mean, it may not be the same, but
no. I mean, well, you think about it though. You can stream movies over the internet, and I know there's no input being put into that. And I can stream a HD movie, 2.5 hours long, full HD, full screen, and there won't be a single blip in the entire thing. So I'm not sure whether that will be too much of a problem personally.
I don't understand the technical
exactly
behind it, but I think that what you've got is. It's not something you're just watching, it's something you're interacting with. So I don't understand how it responds to that through an internet connection. I would have thought that it'd have to at least temporarily store something on your console, and then it can stream elements of it. I mean, as I say, I don't know how they're doing this, or I don't know the technical nature, but
the only reason I don't think it's working that way is because they would have just, surely these consoles would have been backward compatible, and like you said, they would have put it on the store. It seems far easier to do that than have this rigmarole setting up an entire piece of streaming technology just to play old games. There's a limitation with the consoles that we've got on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. It doesn't let them play the old games. They've put something in the architecture which means they can no longer play those games using the actual processor in the console itself. So the alternative is that it goes over the internet and it's streamed directly into your console. But I
mean, for what I want it for, I would think, for me personally, I can see the value in streaming newer games, so current console, current gen games. So for me, for example, I want to play GTA, right? Yeah. Okay, I pay my X amount for the month, stream that, play it, get it done, bin it. But I wouldn't want to go back and play. I mean, they're bloody mastering most of the games I want to play anyway from the last gen, so what's the point?
Yeah, that is true.
I don't know, especially on the PS4 where they've remastered The Last of Us and stuff. People might think, oh yeah, I'll go back and... No, pointless. Remastered, get that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's just that the Shadow of the Colossus hasn't, that's why I was saying it. That's been remastered once already from PlayStation to PlayStation 3, so...
A remaster?
They're not, that's the thing, I wouldn't put it past them to do that, but I've not seen any news of it. But I don't think there's much more to say on that. It's a bit of a until it comes out here, and B, we see how it works and how it works over different internet connections. It's tough
interesting if there's online multiplayer with those games as well. How that works.
Yeah, I don't think that'd work. I don't see how that.
I don't see how it'd work anyway. To be honest, I don't know like I say, I don't know enough about the way that it's working and the mechanics of it, but I can't help but feel that online multiplayer would just be a fucking minefield.
Well, they can't even get current gen to bloody release on time working, so let alone having some bastard streaming it out of his bloody 56k
last comment
dial-up.
On it.
Go on.
I mean, maybe I presume I presume they're releasing it sort of for PS3 and PS2 games just to see how it goes, and then
that's why I imagine
stages,
that. Yeah. So. To be honest, I'm not sure. The business side of me thinks, how can they make money off doing streaming PS4 games? Because you're losing a cut of sold games. Yes, you're getting a subscription, but I don't know. I say that, and then I look at something like WWE, which is now you can stream there. I think you pay $10 a month, and you stream their pay-per-views, which used to cost them $30 or $40 a month, and they've moved to that model where you can pay $10 a month and you stream it. So there must be money to be made somehow in doing this streaming. There's a lot of things that are doing it, but I think we'll close that one down because we're sort of bumbling our way to a conclusion on that one.
Evidently, none of us know enough about it, really, do we, at the minute? So we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, when it gets rolled out to Europe, there's a 7-day trial, and I'm going to take it up and have a look around and see what's what and what I can and can't do, and see if there's any limitations to it, and maybe I'll report back once I've had a little play of it. Yeah. Something that we haven't really talked about on the podcast at all, I mean, we've briefly mentioned it, is the handheld market. So, I mean, we've got the PlayStation Vita out there, which you can sync up to your PlayStation 4. You can remote play your PlayStation 4 using your Vita, and you can also, it's got its own line of games there as well. You've got the Nintendo 3DS as well. So that's 2 out of the 3 console manufacturers that have handheld equivalent, or not equivalents, but consoles out there. Microsoft haven't though. Hall, you've got a 3DS. You seem to enjoy it, playing through it. Do you think Microsoft are missing a bit of a trick here?
Not really.
Well,
to be honest,
closed case, done. Move on.
The reason being, I think people that have the Xbox One, it goes back to kind of, once again, the Nintendo is more of the family console, isn't it? I don't think a lot of people who have Xbox Ones and PlayStations want to play sort of a toned down, a smaller version of a game. We generally they like their big online games or their big story player, with the big impressive graphics, big budgets. And obviously you just can't do that at the minute on a handheld console. I mean, the 3DS is brilliant, but for me it's not something that I sit at home and play. It's an on the go thing.
That's not what you said on the first podcast, though. That completely contradicts what you used to say.
Sometimes I sit down and play it, but not as often as I would do my Wii U or the Xbox One. I don't mind playing it because there's some good games out on it, but a lot of them now are coming out for, like, there's a larger version coming out for console, or something else that's come out for console that's taken its place.
You've had like Smash Brothers, haven't you, that's come out on the 3DS
which has come out on the
now it's on the Wii U.
So it's the Vita, I think, kind of bridged the gap a little bit in being able to play your PS4 remotely, which was quite a good idea, but it's quite a large amount to fork out for that service. And I just don't think it brings quite enough to the table. If you want something that's a standalone, I think Nintendo, to be fair, the DS, and well, since the Game Boy, really, they've kind of conquered the handheld market. They've got it pretty much right the way through. I don't think anyone could really argue that they've kind of completely had that market to themselves. So, I suppose Microsoft's approach at the minute is, let's just not bother. Let's save our money and focus on what we're doing. We've had enough complaints about the Xbox One. They should probably fucking figure out how to fix that before they start worrying about anything else, to be honest.
That is true. I think one of the factors in this is the rise of mobile gaming as well.
Yeah.
So having a tablet or a smartphone, you've got free-to-play games on there that aren't always free-to-play, as we know, there's microtransactions, but you can actually buy GTA San Andreas on your bleeding phone now. Yeah. And you think going back a few years ago, well, not a few years ago, but a long time ago, that was a big console AAA game, and you can get those sort of experience on a mobile. Now, if you're already paying £35 a month for your smartphone through your rip-off networks, you're not really going to be looking at shelling out another £100 plus or £200 on another handheld console when you can get gaming on the go. It's at a decent level on a mobile. The last handheld I had was the Game Boy Color. That was the last one I actually purchased and had myself. Spent hours, hundreds of hours on Pokemon Red, I must add. I did love it. But that was at a time when, things weren't as graphically advanced as they are now on the big consoles. Yes, it was better, but it didn't make too much of a difference because, the Pokemon Red was... you could only get it on the handheld at the time. Mr. Logan, have you got an opinion on the handheld market and Microsoft in particular? I tend to agree with Hall that it would be just a waste of money.
Possibly. You just don't know, do you? You don't know what they'd bring out. Maybe they deem that they've lost that almost to Apple. Maybe they just think, well, Apple have got their iPad, we'll just leave it to them.
Wow. Android, better.
I was going to say, it's not like Microsoft haven't got their own bits and pieces, though.
didn't say they didn't. All I was saying was
they gave up.
Well, no, I didn't know. It's not what I said.
Your exact words were they've just given up to Apple.
Right, obviously, you've got the ump about me bringing up regarding your contradicting statement earlier, but what I'm saying is that they've given up with that. If Apple have brought that out, then what have they got to add to it? I don't know, whatever.
Good input. Right, that's obviously not gone as well as I thought it might do. Let's bin that off. That's not happening, is it? That's clearly someone's not in the mood tonight to play ball. It's your idea, this one.
Yeah, I know, but it's just bin that. Just bin it up to you asking me. So keep yours and all's bit in. Just bin it up on my.
No, it's staying in. It's in there. I can't just leave it out. That's not the way it works. It's live, unless I make an error and then I cut it out.
Right.
Oculus Rift and Project Morpheus. Now, this is obviously virtual technology that I saw it growing in 2014 in sort of, not demand because they're not properly out yet, but people were getting very interested in it, and there was at different conferences and demo areas and whatnot. Project Morpheus is obviously PlayStation's crack at it. It's a headset you put on, you're engulfed in a VR sort of world, and Oculus Rift is actually been bought out by Facebook now, I believe. So, yeah, so that's now owned by them. Again, Xbox haven't got their version of this, which I imagine will be announced this year. I'm not sure whether the Oculus Rift is going to be licensed to go on the Xbox One if this ever does take off, but I've got a feeling they'll announce something along this year with their own version of this. But Logan, before me and Hall, talk about the virtual reality, you said you had a 10-second statement which would wrap up the whole debate. So let's go first and see what your opinion of this is. And if it is, we haven't played it, so we don't know that is not acceptable.
Right, we haven't played it, so we don't know.
I was waiting for that.
No, I just don't think it will be able to keep up with the current state of television technology. I mean, it's pretty much going to be 4K soon, and the only one they've released so far is 720. So they're talking about when they release it to the consumer that will go up to 1080, but 1080 is almost old hat now.
Wow,
so when
have you got a 4K telly?
No, I haven't, but right. they are going to be affordable. The rate TVs go, they're going to be affordable by the time these are released. So they're looking probably
just quickly on that, you've got to remember that the game resolutions aren't going up to 4K. Yeah, they're not even hitting 1080p at the moment.
But
they're struggling to get that. So
it's not necessarily new stuff. I mean, they've tested it on, for example, Roller Coaster Tycoons, and the reviews have basically been, it's good, but I haven't been wanting to go back for more. It's basically been put right in front of your face. It's too heavy at the moment.
It's a novelty, isn't it?
It's a novelty, yeah. It's something that someone's designed and painted and gone, yeah, look, it's going to be brilliant. And I don't know. I don't see it fitting in with most games. I quite like the old school sit in front of a TV and I've got my controller anyway, which is why I don't necessarily think motion control's kicked off, because people have got their comfort now with that. So I there's probably a place for it, don't get me wrong, but I think if people start using 4K in the next couple of years, then they're going to have to keep trying to keep on top of the technology with the television, and I'm not quite sure it'll live up to the billing.
Well, that was longer than 10 seconds that you promised, but I'll let you off on this occasion. I don't see the technology of the tellies being too much of a problem, because I just don't see how the games are going to... They said they're not even getting full resolution on the current specs of 1080p, 60 frames per second. They're always under that, mostly. I just can't see them doing it. And you've got to also remember that it's not just the television output. You've got to look at the architecture and the console hardware, which is it going to allow them to do that smoothly. I think 1080p is going to be the best we can get for this particular generation. Mr. Hall, you sort of had a little few comments there and there. What's your overall thoughts of this?
I think that Loding's right in quite a lot of it. In that at this stage, it's difficult to really call as to how big it's going to be, how important it's going to be, and how much it's going to kind of take off. From what I've seen of the Oculus, it looks quite cool, but it's... I mean, you put it this way, you're not going to be playing like a Titanfall on the Oculus.
That'd make you sick, surely.
Well, not even because of that, just because it's not at that level of like control yet. It's really, like you said, like Logan said, it's almost just at the minute, if you were to do something like that, it'd just be like having a television wrapped around your head. And I just don't at this
Good look.
Well, just at this stage, it's not quite there yet. I haven't seen anything of the Project Morpheus.
No, it's very similar. The same idea essentially. So there's not a great deal of...
There was talk before the Xbox One came out, which was one of the reasons that I got it, was the
that picture you sent me.
Equivalent of the holodeck, which projects onto the walls around you to create a 3D world, like a fully sort of projected world, which I think is personally, I think is a better idea than having something that you wear on your head, because you obviously don't have to worry about, like obviously having the weight of it and everything else, like Logan's brought up. But obviously that's a long way off. Xbox haven't even considered talking about it or anything. People are just now outright denying that they ever suggested anything to do with it. I think they've made, like I say, they made such a big fuck up with the Xbox One that they've got to get that up and running to the standards that they've been promising before they start worrying about anything else. So, like at current stage, it's difficult. I like the idea of having... I'm always one for new technology and bits and pieces, and I liked the motion controls on the Wii, but I don't think we're at a stage yet to start worrying about any of that. I think we should focus on our current gen, which has only been out for a year, and sort of unlocking the full potential of them before we start burking about with wearing a fucking hat and cape to play my game with.
It's cosplay gone too far. I mean, to put this in perspective, I mean, you can buy an Oculus Rift development kit, they call it, and the current version of that is
outrageous,
$350. So that is the sort of price that you could be looking at. I think that's literally more than or the same as what the consoles cost over in the States, and that's just for a dev kit. That's not the complete article. That's a development kit to, I guess, burk about with and
look through.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think you do have to. What I really want to try and do at some point during this year, over the next 18 months, is try one out and get to a convention of some sort and try it out. Because I don't know, ever since I was younger, the promise of VR was always half there in films and
Game Glove.
Well, that
awesome,
good enough,
mate.
Is it? Yeah, it's not though, is it?
No,
really,
it was dreadful.
But you know what I mean? And the technology was never quite there to actually implement this idea. And I don't know. I really love the idea. It's one of those things that I think, as a kid, if you was ever into gaming, that was sort of like the pinnacle. It was. I think this is the closest we can get. Is having a helmet on your head, or maybe a holodeck. Maybe that'll work. But having this sort of virtual reality system. But one thing that always just bothers me and concerns me is that I'm really not sure how well it'll work using a control and having a helmet on. So, like, you can move your head to turn and look where you need to go, but then still moving the body with a control just wouldn't feel right. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like... Yeah. I don't want to be running up and down in my lounge. That's not what I'm after, but...
There is talk of, I think, adding motion controls onto either the Rift or a sensor so that it can sense your hands rather than using a controller, but I don't understand how you'd then move forward and stuff.
It'd work for like an on-a-rail shooter, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's it.
For me, I think the technology's there to do something interesting with this generation. I don't think we're going to get anything good until probably right towards the end. And the price point, that is steep for... Jimmy wants an Xbox One. Oh, and he wants the Oculus Rift. And you go, well, that's nearly $1,000's worth there. Get out, Jimmy. You're not going to get it, are you? As people that are parents, as a responsible adult where we've got bills to pay, you have to question.
I think you would invest for it to be commercially viable, it's pretty much been said. It needs to be lighter. It needs to be 1080p. They need to up that, and it needs to be affordable. Yeah. So I think they were talking about looking at around the £200 ballpark, which would still be dear, really.
200 though, you'd consider it, wouldn't you? If it came out and everyone said that it was really good, then...
Yeah. How much was the Kinect? Was that 100?
It was 120 when it first came out.
So that's ludicrous when you look back at that, really, for what that was.
Oh, it's absolutely outrageous. No one bought it,
never duped into that.
Exactly.
Did you dupe into it, Hall?
Nope. Thank fuck.
Still isn't needed.
I was very tempted, though. But then everyone that had one said that it was the biggest sack of shit that they'd ever bought in their life. And I'm glad to say that review has carried on to next-gen console, because the fucking current Kinect is the biggest sack of shit the world's ever seen.
I quite like it. Just lay down.
Bought
Xbox
a game.
Pause.
Bought a game. Bought Shape Up.
So obviously you've been put to good use.
Shit, mate.
God.
But
Is it?
Yeah, fucking awful.
Is it because you haven't got the room in where you're playing it, or is it just poor?
Yeah, my lounge is, although it's not massive, I moved the sofa out of the way, so I was a good probably 8 to 10 foot away from my fucking Kinect, and it's still shit. It's literally someone at Microsoft has gone, well, could do it.
Well, they've got a load of cameras here. We need to do something with it.
Yeah, exactly. We've got all these old Kinects that we've not sold from the fucking 360.
Let's upgrade them a little bit.
Why don't we just dial it up a bit? Yeah, exactly. And we'll fucking strap it to the Xbox One.
Well, I mean,
but adding some voice connectivity, so you make substitutions on FIFA when you don't fucking want to. And
well, no, you end up getting banned from the touchline if you swear at it.
Yeah, exactly. You're telling the ref to fuck off, and I get fucking sent from the stands.
It doesn't understand Coutinho. Bothers me.
Well,
brings on Lamella and just.
I mean, the real review of the Kinect has to be that under a year after the Xbox was launched, it was then unbundled from the Kinect from the console. They released an unbundled version, so you didn't have to have the Kinect because they realised that. I remember them saying that the Kinect had to be there. It was all going to be part.
Has to be plugged in all the time.
Implemented. Yeah, all this shit. Otherwise, it won't work.
Has to be online all the time. Has to be this. Has to be that. And then they went, well, we fucked that up a bit.
And within a year, they went, nope, that is unbundled. You can have it at a reasonable price now. I think that's all you need to say about the Kinect. Just want to finish off on the virtual reality and the Oculus Rift and Project Morpheus. The one game type I could see it working really well with is if you've got a steering wheel and a stand, and then you have the Oculus Rift or a Project Morpheus or another VR on top of that. I think that is, for me, that would be the absolute brilliant experience if you're into your races, being able to. You've got the steering wheels now where you can steer the car. Imagine having almost like a crash helmet on top of your head where you're looking around inside the car. I think that's the pinnacle of it and where it's going to work best. But
I saw it with Outlast. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I've seen it with Alien Isolation, and yeah, that would
way.
Be so. Again, I think survival horror it would work. Yeah, no way would be my response. I'd be like, if I go to one of these conventions, pay £100, they go, oh, we've got Outlast on it. I go, nope, don't care. I'll go home. I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
Even if that was my only reason for going, I will not play Outlast on that. But I think things like that, it would definitely add so much to a game that's already shit scary. And for something like races, it's really going to engross you into it. But I think for other types of games where you're sprinting around and doing all sorts,
like you say, you just get motion sickness after a while, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and if it's an on a rail shooter, I can see that working because then you haven't got to move yourself and whatever. But for like a COD, you've got no hope. It's chaos as it is by the sounds of things. Let alone
bring back Time Crisis, mate.
Well, go down the arcade and play that if you want.
Yeah.
Or House of the Dead.
Oh, what a
Sniper Elite. That was one of my favourites.
Mate, that's a good game.
That's fucking hard.
Get that monster gun.
Yeah, so heavy.
Yeah, exactly. You go
I was
down,
a kid. Yeah.
Too young to lift it up. The two of you, one of you holding it steady and one of you fucking aiming.
Oh god, £1 down the drain.
Yeah.
The best arcade game for me was 18 Wheeler. That was the one.
Oh god, there's another
big
shocker.
Screen, the big wheel. Again, very poor at that. But that's enough on that. I mean, that's that's a wrap, guys. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is actually the first week that we've actually all put a video up each. So Logan's got his top 5 football manager tips. You've got my GTA Online private lobby tutorial. And Mr. Hall has come up with Destiny video showing you how to farm relic iron. I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what that means, but for you Destiny players out there, I'm sure that'll be of some use to you. So that's good for us. You've got Pipes Plays, which is going to air every Saturday. Sort of managed to secure himself a Saturday slot for that. And he's still powering through Game Dev Tycoon, but by the looks of things, he's going to bankrupt pipeline games within the next few weeks, so you might not have to put up with that series much longer because it sounds like it's going straight down the drain rather. If you want to contact us, obviously the Twitter handle is @DimpDigital, Facebook page is facebook.com/DimpDigital, and our email address is dimpdigitalmedia@gmail.com. That's it. Game over. It's goodbye from Logan.
Ta-da.
It's goodbye from Hall.
See you later.
And it's goodbye from me, Joe Appleyard. Thanks for your time, and ta-da. What
Ding,
the hell?
ding, 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 ding.
Did the doctor stick a finger up your arse, Logan? Because is that what's concerned you and got you down the dumps?
Nah.
No?
Nah.
Well,
Feel
what's the
bad.
matter, What's the matter, Logan?
Nothing.
Well, there clearly is something bothering you.
Nah. No, I'm fine.
I've never heard such bollocks in all my life. My God. Are Spurs still losing?
I don't know. I haven't even checked.
I will check
on.
now for you.
Probably. Fucking shite
God.
that he's put out.
Unbelievable. 2-0 down. Sordell and Ross Wallace. Who's that?
Apparently,
Fucking
Saldado's
forward.
just like missed the biggest sitter the world's ever seen.
Yeah. I was lying, Logan. It's 2-all. Paulinho and Capoe have equalised, but they were 2-0 down at
Fucking
one
hell.
point. That's what you're relying on at this level.
I don't almost believe that this is a version of reality. This must be one of them weird realities where Paulinho and Capoe are both capable not only of scoring, but scoring it in the same game. Fuck me.
Jesus Christ.